Like, if I could just edit videos, that would be great, but I'm also the face. Hello there, my name is Mackenzie. Welcome back to my channel, and thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being here. Today we're going to do just a tiny little birthday haul. And you know I'm lying about the tiny part. I had a birthday. It was very exciting. I acquired some books. First, I guess let's talk about this, because I found this beauty at my actual Barnes & Noble store. Okay, so if you don't know, A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair is super popular on Book Talk right now and all over Bookstagram, and it's basically a retelling of Hades and Persephone and that myth, and it is a series. I believe there's like 7 books, including the books that are from Hades' perspective. Okay, so it looks like Persephone has moved to New Athens in hopes to lead an unassuming life, pretending to be a mortal journalist. And Hades, who is the god of death, has built a gambling empire in the mortal world. They have a chance encounter, and the myth continues. And I guess it's kind of interesting because it does take place in the mortal worlds, but they are still gods. So, interesting. And yes, this is adult material, so we're very excited about that as well. Mexican Gothic by Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. So this one came out a little bit ago, and when it did, everyone was talking about it. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it, some people thought mushrooms freaked them out for a very long time. I'm very excited because it's in a nice little paperback, so it matches my other Silvia Moreno Garcias, and truly I feel like Moreno Garcia might be my next favorite author next to Erin Morgenstern, because the way that she writes is just so beautiful. So I have this one, and I have the beautiful ones to read, and I'm really excited about it. Hang the Moon by Alexandria Bellafleur. We all knew I was listening to YA contemporary romances on audiobook, and I accidentally picked up Written in the Stars thinking it was a YA. Come to find out, it's an adult novel, and the steamy scenes were great, but it's hard to listen to it. So I ended up picking up the physical of Written in the Stars, and I got this one for my birthday. Second in the series, this follows one of the leading ladies from the first book, her brother. And the brother was a character in the last book, and now he's looking for love. He created a dating app for everyone else, and now it's his turn for love, and I'm excited about it. And honestly, I don't think that I would have picked this up if I didn't love the character that we were going to be following already from Written in the Stars, and also kind of just like the vibe that Written in the Stars has. Alexandria Bellafleur has this really nice writing style of romance where it feels like these characters truly have their own voice. Like, I totally understand the different characters. And not to mention, Written in the Stars was like grumpy character with sunshine character, and it was beautiful, and I loved it. So I'm just hoping for more of the same writing style and to enjoy the characters again. The Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker. So this one, I was researching books about, like, you know how, I don't know what video we talked about it in. I was kind of talking about creating a library of lost ladies from literature, like the women in the Greek myths and all of the stories that we've heard. They either had small parts or they had really, like, not fleshed out parts, so you really didn't understand their character, and you got this superficial version of them that was really cruel. So when I was looking up books of women in history, I found this one. So this was shortlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction. It is the story of the Iliad from the viewpoint of Briseis, which is the captive of Achilles. So if you already know about the Trojan War, all of that made sense to you. If you've only read Song of Achilles, so Achilles, when him and Patroclus went to Troy for the war, when they started, like, basically giving away women as sex slaves to the men of the Greek army, and Patroclus told Achilles, like, you know, you have to save her. Briseis was the first one that they saved. So in Homer's epic, Achilles lies with her, but she really doesn't have any words at all in Homer's epic. In Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, she does have a few other lines, and she's kind of cute and sweet and a little strong lady and has kind of a thing for Patroclus, but I'm really interested to see another version. So she's really going to be talking more about like the thousands of women who were kept at the Greek camps as slaves. Concubines, nurses, prostitutes, the women who lay out the dead. As gods and mortals spar, and as a legendary war hurtles towards its inevitable conclusion. Brilliantly written, filled with moments of terror, beauty, The Silence of Girls gives voice to an extraordinary woman and makes an ancient story new again. So, not like the Song of Achilles wasn't absolutely amazing. I cried my eyes out, and Patroclus is one of my new favorite characters. I am excited to see the same story now that I'm more comfortable with it from Briseis' point of view. My cat is napping near the stand that you're sitting on, so if you start to shake, I'm sorry, she's moving. The Penelopiad, like the Iliad, but for Penelope, by Margaret Atwood. So the only Margaret Atwood that I have read was Handmaid's Tale, and I read that recently as an adult, and it was absolutely horrifying. I didn't read the Testament because it takes place 10 years after, and I can't, no. You're just trying to hurt me. It's no longer like, hey, here are the signs you should look out for when your society is crumbling and you're going to be the next one in danger. No, it was just to hurt me. I'm not falling for it. I'm not watching the rest of the Handmaid's Tale show. It's just there to hurt. No. So this follows the story of Penelope, which is Odysseus's wife. After she dies, and she's in the underworld, and she is telling her own story. A story of lust and greed and murder, and I'm here for it. And it kind of falls along with Lost Women of Literature, and also a little bit off of the Trojan War. So already something that I'm more familiar with. It's not something I'm going to have to read the source material over. I'm comfortable with it. I'm really excited to see what we have going for us here. Near the Bone by Christina Henry. So this was an April 2021 release. I did talk about it in my April mood and releases video, and I talked about how Christina Henry was an author that I have been reading from in regards to retellings. I read her retelling of Alice in Wonderland, the first one, which is Alice, and then I also read her retelling of Peter Pan, which is called Lost Boy, and they're both so good, so amazing. I love her writing. I love the storytelling. It's so captivating, and I really wanted to see what she was going to do with something of her own creation. So this is kind of like a suspense, it sounded like. A woman trapped on a mountain attempts to survive more than one kind of monster in a dread-inducing horror novel. So this is straight up a horror novel. Maddie and William have always lived on the mountain together, and she must never make him upset. And when she discovers a mutilated body of a fox in the woods, she realizes that they're not alone. And what scares her the most is that William's gonna find out that they're not alone. And so that's kind of an interesting setup, kind of an interesting story. I'm not entirely sure where it's going to go. I can think of a few places it might go, but nothing feels exactly right. So I really want to see what's going to happen. The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. Okay, critics are interesting in the sense that you follow them for a few reasons, right? And even BookTube people. So people on BookTube, critics on BookTube, reviewers on BookTube, they will either be super serious with their reviews, use like the Copile system like I do, where it's a lot of math, or maybe they just rate based on how they feel. But what's really nice to me about critics, and especially about BookTube, is that you can find people who match your style. You can find people who you watch just for fun. You can find people who you watch to get recommendations from. And I have found that in an effort to find more booktubers, because I'll often catch up with everything and then run out of things to watch. So I try to have a lot of backlist going. What I've started finding out is that there are a lot of booktubers who have almost the exact opposite of the opinion that I do, which is funny. It's just interesting. Like, they might also like fantasy or sci-fi and romance, but the things that they like are exactly the opposite of the things that I like. And it's almost as helpful as finding someone who agrees with me on everything. Because I know if this booktuber and I never agree, if she doesn't like a book, chances are I'm gonna like it. I mean, not to be contrarian, but only because our tastes are so different. So I saw a booktuber, I've seen a lot of good reviews for this, and I was thinking about picking it up, and, you know, it was kind of just on my back burner. And then I saw one booktuber who I don't agree with a lot of their opinions. They're really fun and they're really engaging, and I still like to watch their videos and get their opinion, but we didn't agree on a lot of things. And she said that she absolutely hated this book, and I was like, oh, maybe I should actually pick it up, because if she hated it, I'm gonna love it, I think. So that's what I did. So basically this is a middle grade. It's kind of a long middle grade. No, I guess it's just chunky. Okay, so every year the people of this town offer up a child to the witch, and the witch gives them starlight, and then she adopts them out to a family who wants them or needs them or who can care for them. And then one night she accidentally gives a baby moonlight, and that means that that baby is filled with extraordinary magic, and she ends up adopting it and raising it to be a witch as well. And that's what we're following, and that's so cute to me, and I adore that. The First 10 Years by Meg Bashwiner and Joseph Fink. Two sides of the same love story. So I know about Joseph Fink because he and Jeffrey Cranor are the main writers of a podcast called Welcome to Night Vale. They also wrote a few books, and I love those books. I love the podcast. So anyway, Joseph Fink is married to Meg Bashwiner, and this is the tale of the first 10 years of their love story. So they each wrote their own portion, if I'm understanding this correctly. So it's alternately told in Joseph's and Meg's different perspectives. It's the story of two individuals finding their way in the world and becoming adults as they learn to be a couple. So basically, it's the first 10 years of them being together. They each wrote it. They didn't consult each other. Super cute. I really enjoy this idea. And especially, I never thought that I'd pick a book up like this, ever, aside from the fact that I am now married. And it's just kind of cute to see other married couples, and it's always fun to talk to other married couples. And we don't really have too many in real life, so when I heard that it was Joseph Fink's, I was really excited to pick it up. Shout out to Harper Perennial for, like, when this was coming out on its debut, they were posting it everywhere, all over their Instagram and social media, so kudos to them. Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. Do I need to tell you what this book is about? I feel like all of these books are pretty old, and I'm only really telling you about the ones that, like, aren't popular. So basically, lesbian necromancer in space. Not to mention the fact that I'm tired of being, like, super behind on the Gideon the Ninth train. Like, everyone has all this cute merch, and I'm like, I want the cute merch, but I don't want to buy merch if I don't know the book, right? Like, that's the worst. If you buy merch ahead of reading the book, and then you read the book, and it's like, you didn't like the ending, or you didn't like the romance, or the character building wasn't great. Like, what do you do then? We're getting through, don't worry. The Binding by Bridget Collins. So this is about Emmett Farmer, and yes, that is his last name. He gets called away to become a bookbinder. So in this world, it seems as if reading and books are strictly forbidden, and bookbinding is a sacred calling. And within these books are memories. So people come when they have a memory that they don't want to keep, and the bookbinder comes and they bind that memory up into a book. And then Emmett is going about his merry way, loving his life until he comes across a book with his name on it, insinuating that he has a memory that he locked away. Magic. So, books, love it. That's my thing. That's my jam. I love it. Let's read about books. Let's read about the love of books. Magic, magical realism, love it. It's amazing. It almost really reminds me of, what is that called? That movie called? Editing McKinsey will put up the poster of the movie that it reminds me of, but basically taking away memories and then trying to find your way back to the memories that you forced yourself not to have anymore. Interesting, intriguing, wrapped up in this little novel about being a bookbinder. Amari and the Night Brothers has been all over everywhere. Literally all over everywhere. I first saw it on Jess Owen's channel, Book Community, and then everyone else started talking about it. Honestly, it's the kind of book that you hear so many good things from so many people that you're like, well, it's just time to pick it up then. Basically, Amari's brother goes missing and she knows that he's alive, so she tries to find him, finds a briefcase, gets whisked off way into this magical world. It looks like there's going to be like some sort of school situation, a magical school situation, you guys. That's dope. This is the censored US version of this cover. And in the uncensored version of the cover, it has this full thing on it. And you know what? That's disgusting. That's literally all you need to do to sell me on a book. You need to call it Odin's Child, have a weird fleshy tail on it, and cut it off. I'm sold. I don't know what my vibe is. Odin's Child is an original fantasy with Norse roots, an epic clash of fear of the unknown, blind faith, and the right or will to lead. So we follow Hirka, who at 15 years old learns that she is a child of Odin, tailless rot from another world. Despised, dreaded, and hunted, she no longer knows who she is, and there are people who would kill her to keep it secret. But there are worse things than children of Odin, and Hirka is not the only creature to have broken through the gateways. This is a translated work, and I was really excited to pick it up, mainly because if you support translated works first in a series, chances of the rest of the series getting picked up and translated are much higher. So I had to get my hands on it. Also, it's a chunky one. I can't listen to this on audiobook. Imagine lacking something that everyone else has, something that proves you belong to the world, something so vital that without it you are nothing. A plague, a myth, a human. Tailless. This is amazing. She lives in a world where all of them have tails and she doesn't have tails. She doesn't have tail. Yeah. So I went back and forth trying to figure out how I wanted to acquire this series, because there's like 2 or 3 more that are still coming out. One book came out last year, I believe, so it's still in hardcover. And then not to mention the fact that the UK covers, I think, are gorgeous. The US covers, it's not that they're not gorgeous. It's that they're not, like, dark colored themed. They're very bright. It's white, and then the color that they are. Which is fine, but white's not my favorite color. It's not my favorite complementary color, even. So I really debated, and I went back and forth thinking, like, okay, but if I order the UK books, then I have to have them shipped, and they might not be in good condition, and I'll have to wait and pay shipping. And if I don't want to pay shipping, I can try and find another place that has no shipping, but then they're probably going to be a little bit more expensive. So my local Barnes & Noble just wanted to be a peach. And they had it. They had these 3. This is one of those books that I have read the summary for it so frequently that I didn't even remember it when I bought it. Clairvoyance is a criminal offense, but Paige Mahoney is still leading a double life, using her unnaturalness illegally, while hiding her gift from her father, who works high up in the Scion regime. So, honestly, fantasy worlds, clairvoyance, she's a dream walker? Yeah, it's all the things I want. For the past 200 years, the Scion government has led an oppressive campaign against unnaturalness in London. I've been reading bits and pieces of Priory of the Orange Tree, and honestly, Samantha Shannon's writing is really great, really interesting. She doesn't hesitate in her writing, and it truly feels, her writing makes me feel like her fantasy worlds are real. Like, she is completely certain of everything that she's writing, everything that she's describing is 100% real, and I'm just astounded at how believable she makes it and how immersive it is. And so I'm really excited to get swept up into something else, something long-standing, and something that will hopefully break my heart. Alright, I also picked up Wundersmith, The Calling of Morgan Crow, because I do have Nevermore, and I believe the third one is coming out in paperback in a couple of months, and then I'm not sure if there are any more. But I think once it gets closer to me acquiring the third one, I think then I'll pick it up. Oh, it's so cute. Don't look in the middle. This is the second book. This is the second book in the series. I can't tell you what it's about, but I know what the series is about. Morgan is taken away to a magical world to escape her destiny of dying on her, 11th or 12th birthday. And look at how intriguing this looks. You know what? Magical school, being swept away into fantasy realm, it will never get boring. Never. I mean, especially not for a middle grade or a younger audience novel. Never getting old. The next couple of books here are all part of the Rick Riordan Presents. The Rick Riordan Presents imprint under Disney's Hyperion Publishing House. We have Dragon Pearl by Yoon-Ha Lee. So here we follow 13-year-old Min, who comes from a long line of fox spirits. But in order to live in the human world, she must appear human at all times. And there's nothing that she'd like to do more than escape Jinju, her neglected, dust-ridden, and impoverished planet. She's counting the days until she can follow her older brother June into the Space Forces and see more of the Thousand Worlds. When word arrives that June is suspected of leaving his post to go in search of the Dragon Pearl, Min knows that something is wrong, and she decides to run away, find him, and clear his name. So they must appear human at all times. Jinju, so it feels like some sort of alternate Earth, because they are humans, but Earth is called Jinju, and it is super advanced in regards to space travel, and so interesting. I feel like this one has a lot of twistiness about it, and I enjoy that the Riordan Presents imprint is doing a lot of kind of the same thing, where it's myths on Earth in a contemporary setting with children, but this kind of feels like the most off base while still fulfilling the assignment. You get me? It seems so interesting. I have the first 3 Arushas. We are acquiring these ones in a paperback. Some of these I decided to acquire in paperback, and some of them I got in a hardcover. Alright, so Arusha follows Aru, whose mother is a curator at a museum, and she goes to a super private, middle school, and Aru, tells all these lies to fit in because everyone's super rich and popular, and her fellow classmates come to the museum, catch her in a lie, and Aru ends up unwittingly releases an ancient demon who is intent on awakening the god of destruction. That poor child! She is just telling white lies so these bullies at school will leave her alone, and then this demon's like, yep, I'm gonna ruin the whole world. Man. I also continue to always hear great things about Roshni Chakshi's writing for this and for the Gilded Wolves series, and then I think she also wrote something else that I always hear great things about, and I'm like, oh, who wrote that? And then I find out it was Roshni Chakshi, and I'm like, oh my god. Of course. Next, we have City of the Plague God by Sarwat Chada. So this is a Mesopotamian myth, and I'm very excited because it's a very old myth. So Seek works in his parents' deli in Manhattan after school and on the weekends. Sure, he misses some nights, and he's really just doing all he can to help with his immigrant parents achieve their American dream with the deli, until Nurgle he's the ancient god of disease, crashes into Seek's life. Nurgle is seeking a treasure he thinks Mo stole, which is Seek's older brother. And if Nurgle doesn't get it back, he will unleash a supernatural plague across New York City. So Seek's like, all right, I'll fight demons, join forces with goddesses, and venture into the netherworld, making sacrifices to be a hero, even though you didn't ask. All of these poor kids, like I never felt bad for Percy. I never felt like, oh, poor Percy, he has to go be awesome and amazing and always make it out and have the prophecy always be about him. And even if it's not about him, I'm gonna make it about me. And like, it never felt like the gods just crashed into Percy's life and were like, you must do this now. It always felt like somehow, some way, Percy kind of deserved it because that was the kind of person he was. Like, he was going to do those things anyway because he's, like, defiant and, like, doesn't like bullies and all that kind of stuff. Like, he was never going to just take any of it lying down, I don't think. But, like, with Arusha and City of Plague God, like, these kids just get their lives turned upside down by these demons, and they're like, well, I guess since no one's gonna help me. And lastly, for the Riordan presents The Last Fallen Star by Gracie Kim. So this follows Riley O, who comes from a powerful lineage of Korean healing witches. But when she turns 13, she figures out that she's a Saram, which is a person without magic. So Riley was adopted, and despite having memorized every healing spell she's ever heard, she often feels like the odd one out in her family and the gifted community. Then her sister has an idea. What if the two of them could cast a spell that would allow Riley to share her sister's magic? So because they like try to mess with the laws of the god realm, the sister's life ends up hanging in the balance, and to save her, Riley has to accomplish an impossible task, find the last fallen star. But what is the star, and how can she find it? So this seems super interesting and kind of like a different take. I'm loving how all of them have like a theme, but the takes are always a little bit different, and not just like, oh, we changed Belle's name and, you know, you'll never know that it's a Beauty and a Beast retelling. Like, no, they really creatively redid it. And you know, just the addition of her being adopted, and that's why she doesn't have magic. It's not just that she's broken or like it skipped her. Like, it's a real thing that kids will deal with and people will have to understand. And like, I love that. I love that. All right, we're almost done, you guys. I tried to take off the sticker before I showed you, but it doesn't want to come off yet. So I got Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. I also have The Hate U Give, and I was going to pick it up, and I started reading it, and I was like, you know what? This is really good. I'm going to want to read the other one right away. So I stopped and I got it. So I've been experimenting with reading things that are just slightly out of my comfort zone in regards to like setup and subject matter. So we follow Star's dad, whose name is Maverick, as he finds out that he's going to be a father for the first time with Star. Is he a teen? I think he's a teen. So I read a series when I was in high school. I think I was in high school. The 3 books were called like Perfect Chemistry, Rules of Attraction, and Chain Reaction, and they were like contemporary romances. I'm not sure if they were YA or new adults, technically. But it followed these 3 brothers who were all aged differently, but in each of their books, they had a different relationship with the gang in their city. So the first book followed the oldest brother, who was a full-fledged member of the gang, who did it because his father was killed to protect his mother and his 2 younger brothers. And we follow him going to high school, falling in love with this girl, and kind of making choices and decisions to better his life, get out of the gang, and just kind of keep his brothers and his mother safe. And it was really, really sweet series, and it was something that while I read, I was like, wow, I didn't think I'd be into this, but I'm really into this. And it's something that kind of just like left my mind until The Hate U Give came out, and then Concrete Rose came out, and Concrete Rose being about Maverick finding out that he's going to be a father who he is a gang member, and it just seems like, you know, not exactly the same, but kind of similar, and it just kind of reminded me that I do like more things than I think I do, and that I should develop those likes and interests a little bit more, especially considering all of the amazing reviews that I've been hearing about not only Concrete Rose, but also The Hate U Give. I also think it'll be fun to read those books when they're no longer, like, popular, like everyone is reading it because of the time, and really see what kind of impact it can give me moving forward when things aren't as hostile as they've been. A squire, an immortal, an assassin, an old sorceress, and a pirate's daughter. The heroes are gone, but the fight to save the world has only just begun. I can't get that sticker off, you guys. It's stuck on. So we have Miss Chosen One, who is the last of an ancient lineage. So an immortal and a lethal assassin come to her door because a man who would burn kingdoms to the ground is raising an army unlike ever before. And honestly, just look at the map. Like, that's a beautiful map. Now here's the thing. Don't you dare have something so beautiful as this map and don't make it completely intriguing in regards to your politics. So that's really what I was interested in this book for, was a lot of political intrigue. Victoria Aveyard wrote the Red Queen series, which I did not read, but every time I read the summary for it, I'm like, ooh, that sounds amazing. So I wanted to get in on this. It seems interesting. I'm intrigued with the fact that they say the heroes are gone on the back, but then the inside dust jacket is like, the main character is the last in a long line of lineage, and blah, 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 blah. She's so powerful. That's the Chosen One trope. So how are all the heroes gone if the literal Chosen One and an immortal are still around? So I'm kind of interested to see, like, what they meant. And honestly, if the heroes lost, like, how... I want to see how they make me believe that our new group is the better set of heroes, you know? It almost a little bit reminds me of in the Avengers, like the first Avengers movie, where Phil Coulson is killed by Loki because reasons, and that's the whole driving force behind the group actually teaming up to avenge Phil Coulson. So, like, it's like they weren't good enough for the first time, but they're gonna be better the second time. They're gonna beat you in the second round. And so that's kind of what it feels like, and, like, I'm interested, right? So I saw Mara from Books Like Whoa talking about this series. And not long after it, I decided I'm going to get into this series. And I had tried looking for it at my local Barnes & Noble. They don't carry it. And I decided that I would have to buy it online. And then I started seeing people on Book Talk and Bookstagram being like, oh my god, dare me to pick up this series? OMG, can you believe it? And, like, I just had to pick it up. I had to read it because no one has to dare me to read this. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yep, I'm getting it. But if everyone else is being dared to read it, I had to make sure I was going to pick up my copies before they get sold out, especially because of Book Talk, and especially because my local Barnes & Noble doesn't just carry them in stock. These are going to start selling out. Because when I picked up A Touch of Darkness at my local Barnes & Noble, the cashier told me I sold 6 of these today. Yeah, so social media is really making books pop off. I had to get mine. Wanted to get the first 2 because I know I'm gonna love it. Do I tell you what it's about? Do you know what it's about? Basically, this group of women get alien abducted. The aliens who abduct them, their spaceship starts to crash. And they decide to drop off a bunch of supplies, including the women that they abducted, on this ice planet. And then they take off. And come to find out that the ice planet is not uninhabited. It is inhabited by barbarians. Adult content ensues. I know I could have picked these up on ebook, but honestly, I don't have an ebook platform that I'm comfortable using and returning to consistently, and I knew that these were going to be books that I return to. Especially considering how short they are, and especially considering Mara uses them as palette cleansers, and it's a perfect size for a palette cleanser. It's not even 200 pages, it's perfect, it's beautiful, mwah, and it's exactly what I use romance for anyway. I love romance, it makes me happy, it makes me emotional, and it also gives my brain a break in between the hardcore fantasy and science fiction I try to read. And then the last few things that I wanted to look at with you are some comics I picked up. I love Aggretsuko. It's it's an anime put on Netflix. It's so cute. It's so adorable. I watch it. I love it. I think I'm caught up. But anyway, while I was at the comic book store, I saw this and I was like, ooh, pick it up, pick it up. Not realizing that it's issue number 3. So I'm sure I'm just going to try and read it, and if I get confused, I'll pick up 1 and 2. But I don't think I'll get confused. I hope you can see this with the glossy cover on it. DC, because last month was Pride Month, they set out a DC Pride thick comic just celebrating LGBTQIA plus characters. I got the copy with Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy on the cover, mainly because I love them, I ship them, they're adorable, cutest thing ever. So I already took a peek inside, and basically it looks like there's a few little mini stories of all of these queer characters within the DC universe. I was pretty excited to find out that Infinite Frontier, which is kind of the new, the new season of comics that are being put out right now, is on its it's fresh and brand new. So I picked up Harley Quinn *1, Let the Healing Begin, and I also picked up the Joker 1, 2, 3, and 4, mainly because, you know, Joker's my favorite villain. I don't think there's a villain that I like more than the Joker, and mainly because maybe Thanos. I do and I don't get him. I enjoy watching the Joker be evil. Anyway, I really have no idea really what these comics are about, aside from the fact that it is the new set of series. This Harley Quinn art looks great and amazing and really different from other Harley Quinn art that I'm used to. And Harley Quinn and the Joker, some of my favorite characters in the DC universe, so it wasn't really a hard sell at all. I am not even going to attempt to hold any of these books. There's too many. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed spending some time with me close-ish to around my birthday. If you've read any of these books, please tell me what you think down in the comments. Please no spoilers, because I am going to read them, hopefully. But do let me know what you think. If you have any recommendations based on any of these books that I bought, please let me know as well. And I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!